Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Welcome to Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Mandir.
Jai Ho.
Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Radha Ramana Ju ki jai. Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. Harinam Sankirtana ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. The second day of glorifying Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. So we will begin, as always, with the auspicious invocation, Mangalacharana, calling upon the mercy of our Gurudev, all of our Guru Varga, Guru Parampara, going back to the original Guru, who is Krishna, and his Guru of Prem, Srimati Radhika. We'll start with page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Guccha. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Shri Gurum Vaishnavāśta Shri Rūpam Sagrajatam Sahagano Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagano Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamshta Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varinyam Purusham Mahantam Nārayanam Tam Shirasam Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanincha Shri Krishna Padam Jaditaika Hriddi Chaitanya Leelamrita Sarasar Nārayanam Tam Satatam Prapadye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedānta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Gaura Preshthaya Bhutale Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyano Keshava Niti Namine Atimartya Charitraya Svashritanam Chapaline Jiva Dukhe Sadarthaya Shri Nama Premadayine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Śrīmate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Namine Śrīvarshabhānavi Devi Ganitaya Kripabhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dahine Prabhave Namaha Madhurya Jvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktidam Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinakarine Rupanuga Virudhapo Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishorai Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidanandanamine Gaura Shakti Swarupai Rupanugavarayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshtha Sajanapriya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyarevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurathishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandam Matirgati Matsarabhasvat Padambojo Radha Madanamohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Śrīmad Ratnagara Sinhasanastho Shri Shri Radha Śrīla Govindadeva Preshthānidhi Sevyamano Smarami Śrīmandra Sarasārambhi Vamshivata Tatastitaha Karsham Venu Swarair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Vrindaye Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupasvarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahādāvagni Nirvāpanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrikāśvādanam Sarvatmosnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Harer Nam Harer Nam Eva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyaka Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Excuse me, I received a phone call. That's why the sound cut off. And I have to just double check because, for 1 second. Hare Krishna. Radhe Radhe. No. Naveen called, and maybe we have to do something. Hare Krishna. Samsara dava nalalithaloka pranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam. And that is page 20, sorry, where'd it go? Oh, it's 265, I think. 1 second. It's in the Sanskrit bhajan section. Oh, 255. Okay. Radhe Radhe. Dandavat Pranama Vaishnavas. Samsaradava nalalidhaloka tranayo karunyam ghana ghanatham samsaradava nalalidhaloka pranayo karunya ghana ghanatham pratasya kalyano gunarnavasya vande guru shri charanarvindam pratasya kalyano Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Madhitra Madhyan Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Madhitra Madhyan Manasura Sena Romanchakam Pashutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Romanchakam Pashutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shri Vigraharadhana Nityanana Shringaratam Mandiram विग्रहाराधना नित्यनाना शृङ्गारतं मन्दिरमर्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तांश्चनियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् युक्तस्य भक्तांश्चनियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादो स्वाध्वन्द्वप्रीतान् हरिभक्तसङ्गम् चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादो स्वाध्वन्द्वप्रीतान् हरिभक्तसङ्गम् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारो माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारो माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतीक्षणाश्वाधन्दलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् प्रतीक्षणाश्वाधन्दलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्यै यायादिभिरुक्ति अपेक्षणीय निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्यै यायादिभिरुक्तिरपेक्षणीय तत्रातिदक्ष्यादत्तिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् तत्रातिदक्ष्यादत्तिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षात्परित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सन्ति साक्षात्परित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सन्ति किन्तु प्रभुर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् किन्तु प्रभुर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् भगवति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् भगवति कुतोऽपि Dhyayam stubam stasya yashastri sandhyam Vande Guru Śrī Charanārvindam Dhyayam stubam stasya yashastri sandhyam Vande Guru Śrī Charanārvindam 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 Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Guru Parampara 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 Guru Parampara.
Want some water for that drum?
I don't need water, I need you to put it on the heater. It's too low?
Yeah. Put it on the heater?
Yeah, but you have to put it in such a way so it doesn't roll away. It needs
Obviously.
to heat up. Ooh. Excuse me again. I don't want him to keep disturbing, so I have to call him back. Please forgive me. We will sing next Ebaro Purnakoro Vaishnava Goshai. Hare Krishna. I never liked this, when you would see anyone on stage especially, like during Parikrama, and they would receive a phone call during Kartik, and then during class they would be like, and now I'm doing it because I had that mood looking, hey, why are they doing that? And he's calling me, but he's not answering me. So you'll have to hold on to the mridanga for a little bit until it actually warms up, so it tightens up. On its side would be fine. If any devotees are here from Sardinia, you may remember when we recorded this. Remember Doyal Hari, he's trained opera singer, so he had that very deep, low voice. He was able to sing. I actually have a drum beat. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know the names of the drum beats either. So. Here, now he's calling. Hare Krishna. Radhe Radhe. ठीक है पर मेरे प्रोग्राम अभी सो बाद में ठीक है राधे 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 There we go. Just leave it, Sudevi. It'll tighten up. Hey baro karuna karo Vaishnava Gosai Hey baro karuna karo Vaishnava Gosai Patita Pavana Tumari Ke Hona Patita Pavana Tumari Ke Hona Aharoni Papa dure ja Paharoni kate gele Papa dure ja Emono doyalo Prabhu Eva kota Emono doyalo Prabhu Eva kota Gangaro parasho hoile Paschate pavo Gangaro parasho hoile Paschate pavo Darshane pavitra koro He tomaro Darshane pavitra koro He tomaro Hari sthane aparadhe tare hari naam Hari sthane aparadhe tare hari naam Tomasthane aparadhe nahi koi naam Tomasthane aparadhe nahi koi naam Tomaro hridoye sada Govinda Vishram Tomaro hridoye sada Govinda Vishram Govinda kohe আশা চরণের ধূলি নরোত্তমে করো দয়া আপনার নরোত্তমে করো দয়া আপনার এবারো করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই এবারো করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই পতিত পাবন তোমারি কেহ নাই পতিত পাবন তোমারি কেহ নাই জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় গুরুদেব জয় গুরুদেব জয় গুরুদেব জয় গুরুদেব গুরুদেব জয় গুরুদেব জয় গুরুদেব জয় গুরুদেব প্রভু কৃপা করো মোরে দয়া করো 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 বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর কি জয় থ্যাংক ইউ সুদেবী শুনিয়াছি সাধু মুখে বলে সর্বজন পেজ 51 No problem. I'll play it down. শুনিয়াছি সাধু মুখে বলে সর্বজন শ্রীরূপ কৃপায় মিলে যুগল চরণ শুনিয়াছি সাধু বলে সর্বজন শ্রীরূপ সবে মিলি বাঞ্ছা পূর্ণ করো আমারো সবে মিলি বাঞ্ছা পূর্ণ করো আমারো শ্রীরূপের কৃপা যেন প্রতি শ্রীরূপের কৃপা যেন কাম প্রতি সে পদয়াশ্রয় যা সে মহাশয় সে পদয়াশ্রয় যা সে মহাশয় প্রভু লোকনাথ কবে সঙ্গে লয়া যাবে প্রভু লোকনাথ কবে সঙ্গে লয়া যাবে শ্রীরূপের পাদ পদ্মে মোরে সমর্পিবে শ্রীরূপের পাদ পদ্মে মোরে সমর্পিবে হেনতি হরিদে মোর নরম সখী গানে হেনতি হরিদে মোর নরম সখী গানে অনুগত নারো তবে পরিবেশাসনে অনুগত নারো তবে পরিবেশাসনে শুনিয়াছি সাধু মুখে তোরে সর্বজন শ্রীরূপ কৃপায় মিলে যুগল চরণ শুনিয়াছি সাধু মুখে তোরে সর্বজন শ্রীরূপ কৃপায় মিলে যুগল চরণ রূপ সনাতন জয় 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 রূপ সনাতন প্রভু হে 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 श्री रूप गोस्वामी पाद की जय श्री सनातन गोस्वामी पाद की जय श्री सत गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय Now we will call out the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Parama Karuna, Pahu Duijana, Nitai, Gaura Chandra. That's page 84, Parama Karuna. If you do not have a songbook, if you don't have one of these Gauriya Giti Guchas, I'm embarrassed now, it's well used. If you don't have one of these, or the Gauriya Kirtan app, it's very easy. Just scroll to the most recent post of Jiva Pavana Prabhu. It's in the comment section of the thread. There you will find the bhajan along with the translation, and generally followed by beautiful commentaries from our acharyas. So thank you, Prabhu Dhanavad. And Lavangalata, she posts the page number 84. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Parama Karuna Pahudu Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Pahudu Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabaya Mata Sarashiro Mani Sabaya Mata Sarashiro Mani Kevalaya Nanda Kanda Kevalaya Nanda Kanda Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudhita Vishwasa Kori Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudhita Vishwasa Kori Vishayo Chariya Sera Seva Jiya Vishayo Chariya Sera Seva Jiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishayo Chariya se rase mojiya mukhe bolo hari hari mukhe bolo hari hari o dekho ore bhai tribhuvane na amono doyalo data dekho ore bhai tribhuvane na amono doyalo data pashu papi jhure পাশানো ভিতরে পশু পাখি ঝুরে পাশানো ভিতরে শুনি যারো গুণগাথা শুনি যারো গুণগাথা সংসারে মজিয়া রহিলি পরিয়া se pode no yasho samsare mojiya rohini poriya se pode no yasho apolo parama bhunjayo shamano yapolo parama bhunjayo shamano kohoyeno chano daso kohoyeno chano daso o parama karuna pahunu jana nitai gora chandra o parama karuna pahunu jana nitai gora chandra sabayavatar saroshiromani sabayavatar saroshiromani kevolo yananda bando kevolo yananda bando kevolo yananda bando kevolo yananda bando jaya nitai gaurango jaya nitai gaurango 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 nitai he gaur he nitai he gaur he nitai he gaur he nitai he gaur he पति पावन श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम शचिनंदन गौर हरि की जय Oh, you see Devidasi Ramya just appeared, and I remember you asked yesterday for Bandhu Sange Jaditava Ranga Parihas. So that will come soon. Right now, Kabe Habe Bolo Sedina Amar, page 88. হবে হবে বলো সেদিন হবে হবে বলো সেদিন অপরাধ বুঝি সুধানামে রুচি কৃপা বলে হবে হৃদয়ে সঞ্চার অপরাধ বুঝি সুধানামে রুচি কৃপা বলে হবে হৃদয়ে সঞ্চার হবে হবে বলো সেদিন কবে হবে বলো সেদিন ত্রিনদী কহি কবে নিজ মাহি সহিষ্ণু গুণ হৃদয়ে তেনানি ত্রিনদী কহি কবে নিজ মাহি সহিষ্ণু গুণ হৃদয়ে তেনানি সকলে মানত আপনি আমনি সকলে মানত আপনি আমনি হয়ে আস্বাদিব নামর সসার হয়ে আস্বাদিব নামর সসার কবে হবে বলো সেদিন আমার কবে হবে বলো সেদিন আমার ঘন জলয়ার কবিতা সুন্দরী বলিব না চাহি দেহ সুখকারী ঘন জলয়ার কবিতা সুন্দরী বলিব না চাহি দেহ সুখকারী জন্মে জন্মে দাও তোহে গৌর হরি জন্মে জন্মে দাও তোহে গৌর হরি অহৈ তুকি ভক্তি চরণে তোমার অহৈ তুকি ভক্তি চরণে তোমার কবে হবে বলো সেদিন আমার কবে হবে বলো সেদিন আমার কবে করিতে শ্রীকৃষ্ণ নাম উচ্চারণ পুলকিত দেহ গদ গদ বচন করিতে শ্রীকৃষ্ণ নাম উচ্চারণ পুলকিত দেহ গদ গদ বচন বৈবর্ণবে পথু হবে সংঘাত বৈবর্ণবে পথু হবে সংঘাত নিরন্তর নেত্রে হবে অশ্রুধার নিরন্তর নেত্রে হবে অশ্রুধার কবে হবে বলো সেদিন আমার কবে হবে বলো সেদিন আমার কবে নবদ্বীপে সুরধুনি ততে গৌর নিত্যানন্দ বলি নিষ্কপতে তবে নবদ্বীপে সুরধুনি ততে গৌর নিত্যানন্দ বলি নিষ্কপতে নাচিয়া গাইয়া বেড়াইব ছুটে নাচিয়া গাইয়া বেড়াইব ছুটে matulero pran chariya vichar matulero pran chariya vichar kove have bolo se dinoya kove have bolo se dinoya kove nityanando more kori doya harai devor vishayero maya kove nityanando more kori doya harai devor vishayero maya diya more nijo charanero chaya diya more nijo charanero chaya namero hatete viveyo dhikar namero hatete viveyo dhikar kave have bolo se dinoya kave have bolo se dinaya kindi bolutivo hari namaros namarase mati hoibo vivasho kindi bolutivo hari namaros namarase mati hoibo vivasho rasero rasika charana parasho rasero rasika charana parasho koriyamo jivo raseo nimar koriyamo jivo raseo nimar kave have bolo se dinoya kave have bolo se dinoya kave jive doya. Maybe I'm off too. Kave jive doya hoibe udoy nija sukha bhuli sudina he doya kave jive doya hoibe udoy nija sukha bhuli sudina he doy bhakti vinoda koriya viloy bhakti vinoda koriya viloy Shri agyata haro koribe prachar Shri agyata haro koribe prachar kave have bolo se dinoya kave have bolo se dinaya kave have bolo se dinoya kave have bolo se dinoya Prabhu he 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 Jaya Hari Ramo Jai Hari Ramo Hari Ramo Jai 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 Hari Ramo Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Thakur ki jai Bandhu sange jali tava rang parihas Page 124 in this songbook. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Thake abhirash, bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Kabe mora katha rakho, jeo nakho, jeo nakho. Kabe mora katha rakho, jeo nakho, jeo nakho. Mathurayo keshi tirtha घाते रसका मथुरायो केशी तीर्थ घाते रसका ओ बंधु संगे जदि तव रंग परिहास. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Govinda vigraha dhori kathai acheno hari. Govinda vigraha dhori kathai acheno hari. Nayane bankima drishti mukhe mandahas. Nayane bankima drishti mukhe mandahas. Jivatri bhangavata varna samujala shyam. Jivatri bhangavata varna samujala shyam. Tava kisholaya shobha Śrī Ange Prakash. O Nava Kisholaya Shobha Śrī Ange Prakash. What does Bankima Drishti mean? Drishti means to see or the glance, and Bankim means crooked. So here you have three Bhangama. This is also bent, but also here it says with a crooked glance. Nayane of the eyes, Bankima Drishti, giving crooked glances. What is a crooked glance? Crooked glances are those glances that generally are not supposed to be there but are there. You know, if someone is attracted to someone but they don't want anyone else to see them, they kind of glance up like this. Crooked glances. So Krishna is giving his crooked glances toward the gopis, and sometimes even in front of others. This was happening during Govardhan Leela. And Baladev Prabhu and all the Vrajavasis noticed something. Giriraj, Govardhan, was trembling. At that moment, all of the cowherd men and the cowherd boys put their sticks up to hold up Giriraj to help Krishna. And the gopis were looking up at Giriraj. If you create any difficulty for Krishna whatsoever, we will burn you to ashes with our eyes. But Baladev Prabhu was scratching his head because he knows about Krishna. How is it possible that Krishna can shake or any difficulty will come to him? There's got to be something else up. So Baladev was looking and he found Krishna's eyes glancing at who? Srimati Radhika. Because of this, Krishna forgot what he was doing as he was glancing at Srimati Radhika and he began trembling. And then Krishna noticed Baladev Prabhu seeing where his glance was going, and he became very shy. This is told in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, in the Krishna book. He became shy because Baladev caught his crooked sidelong glance. So thank you for that beautiful question. Bhakti Madrishti. What's the time? I just want to see if I have time for something. CD 6:14. I don't even know how to sing it, so I'm not going to try. I wanted to try to sing Dushtaman, but I don't know how to sing it. And it is quite, wow, very, very long. Recommended reading. So, yes, our Srila Prabhupada has sung it. Dushtaman by Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Let's see if I can get this. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite, page 341. 341. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite 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 Gopura Daruni Mandalamohite Gopura Daruni Mandalamohite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Damodarāṣṭakam Vardhanaveṣe Vardhanaveṣe Hari Radhe वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय। श्री कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय। Oh, what?
I thought you were going to do the deep, but you're not.
I'm going to light the deep, but we're not singing Damodarāṣṭakam today.
Did you feel it?
I did.
Oh, God.
Here it's called deep. Śrī Dāmodara ki jai, Śrī Radha ki jai, Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Sachirandana Gaur Hari ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Shalagram Shila ki jai, Lal Gopal ki jai, Chotta Chotta Lal Gopal ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari शशिनंदन गौर हरि की जय राधा विनोद बिहारी जी की जय राधा रमन जी की जय गिरिराज महाराज की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय continuation of his glorification की जय गौर भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि So, as I was chanting Hare Krishna, I opened my eyes for 1 second, and this is the nature of the tape recorders of this world. I saw one name popped up, and that is Bhanumati. You can't see her name as Bhanumati, but that's who she is. And immediately I remembered a post she posted recently about her husband and his big white beard. As I was chanting Hare Krishna, I was like, oh my God, this impression just came in my mind. He was jealous of the cows getting brushed. He wanted his beard brushed. And I was thinking, how do I get this idea to shift while I'm chanting Hare Krishna? Who has a beard? Who has a beard? And then I remembered Gurudev speaking about Advaita Acharya.
Nice.
And so I started smiling at that point because Advaita Acharya was respected by Mahaprabhu because Advaita Acharya is very, very senior. Not only in age, he was the person who actually called him to come at that time, and also he's contemporary of Mahaprabhu's grand guru. So I don't know if he's the disciple of Madhavendra Puri, but he's contemporary. He's in that level. And so Mahaprabhu always was giving him respect. So much admiration, honor, and respect. But Advaita Acharya knows that Mahaprabhu is Avatari, the source of all other forms. And so therefore, Advaita Acharya, who is actually non-different from Mahavishnu, is the manifestation of the original form, who is Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Both are the same, Avatari. So Advaita Acharya didn't like to receive that kind of glorification, that kind of worship, that kind of honor. He felt it was out of place, so he wanted to reverse the roles. Advaita Acharya was a very great teacher, great personality. He was known as Acharya, and so many were his students. So he started teaching a Mayavad conception. Mahaprabhu says, Mayavad abhasha shunale hoi sarvanash, that just hearing these conceptions can destroy all of your inclination in bhakti, so avoid it at all costs. But Advaita Acharya started preaching that. When news came to the ears of Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu ran to that place because that conception is aparadha, against love and affection, against radha, against the nature of devotion, against the form of Krishna and the love and affection between all souls and Krishna. So Mahaprabhu took it as a personal offense, as Krishna himself does. He went to that place and grabbed Advaita Acharya by the hair, some say by the beard, and began to give him a good lashing until Advaita Acharya's wife began pleading on his behalf and saying, no, stop, he's an old man, you're going to kill him like this. Advaita Acharya was so happy. Finally, my Lord has put me in my place. So, yes, by impressions, whatever we see, whatever we hear in the daytime, that can also come into our memory. But I was trying to practice shifting that to subjects of bhakti, and that remembrance came up. So thank you just for showing up to give me that remembrance of Gurudev's katha on that particular point. Yes, Devaki came in. Gurudev jokingly called Punya Advaita Acharya.
He has a beard down to the floor.
Yeah, his beard is so long, it is braided, and that brings it up from the floor.
And he puts it in his pocket.
Yes, he keeps his beard in his pocket. Very good. Okay, so Srila Gurudev ki jai. Guru.
I'm doing the Mangalacharana with you now.
Okay, so now we're going to do Mangalacharana. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vacham Pangum Langayate Girim Yakrpatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandavat Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupad Ashto Tarashata Shri Śrīmad Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. In the same thousands of Dandavat Pranam, in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupad Ashto Tarashata Shri Śrīmad Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Śrīla Prabhupada. And on this day, the second day, the continuation of the endeavor to glorify Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, also I and we are offering our thousands of Dandavat Pranam in the dust of his lotus feet. And to all Vaishnavas past, present and future, including all of you who are present with us today, we offer our Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas, Radhe Radhe
Radhe Shyam. So as I already mentioned, today we are continuing with the endeavor to glorify, and I'm using the word endeavor very carefully, to glorify Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Actually, according to our scriptures, according to our acharyas, such a personality, such a person's glorification is unlimited. Their qualities, their attributes are unlimited. Even Krishna is endeavoring to glorify his devotees. So what to speak of us? Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita actually condemns himself for the audacity of endeavoring to glorify great or transcendental personalities. And yet, still, for his own benefit, he says, and also for the benefit of others, he makes that endeavor to do so. So although we may not have much qualification, still on the order of our Srila Gurudev and our acharyas, and also all of you present, we are making this endeavor to remember what we have heard from our Guru Varga and to share those teachings that we have learned from them. So without further ado, Narasimha Guru, Part 2. That's what Anjali just wrote, Narasimha Guru, Part 2. So, once again, Sudevi only completed about 1/3.
No,
Half of what she was going to speak. And as you know, yesterday, it finished so quickly. I thought we would go for longer, but anyhow.
I'll be done so you can speak some.
No, please. It's a rare treat for me when I get to hear her speak and glorify these personalities. So I'll move this over.
Yeah, I don't want to kick it or anything.
Maybe I'll take this one.
Okay.
Narasimha Guru, Part 2. Be careful behind you, there's fire.
Okay. I did the Mangalatana with Kishori, but Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So, yesterday we didn't get to finish speaking and trying, as he said, attempting to glorify Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And I wanted to thank you for bearing with me. My mind was a little bit fuzzy, as it is still today a little bit. So please, if I make any mistakes, feel free to correct me. And if I miss any points, feel free to correct me and to write it down to help me, because I need so much help. So yesterday we ended off pretty much hearing about how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he underwent a vow so that in 10 years, a little less than 10 years, he would chant 1 billion names of the Lord. And we heard how he grew up, how he was so extraordinary. And what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Okay. He was so staunch and he was so very serious. It is said that when he was younger, when he was, I think, in college, maybe a little bit younger, but he had a group of friends, and they made a group called Chir Kishore. And this group, they made vows to be lifelong celibates, to be brahmacharis their entire life. And it is said that the only one who actually completed that vow was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we heard how he was chanting and how he took shelter of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. How he went into an assembly of Brahmins, caste Brahmins and caste Goswamis. And he went and he defeated this idea that one can be born into a great position. It is actually known by someone's character, how they are serving the Lord, how are they behaving in every aspect of their life, what makes them a Brahmin, what makes someone a Goswami, somebody who is controlling all of their senses and whose mind is completely dedicated to Krishna. They have no knowledge even of what the body is doing, like Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana. We hear how the Goswamis are. They're not simply using the Lord to make money. They're not simply collecting so much wealth by giving Hari Katha. And this goes for Gaudiya Vaishnavas too. But at the time, this was the assembly that he entered. So around this same time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was asked to go to Calcutta, to I think it's Calcutta University. And there was one really famous He was a jyotish. He was an astrologer, but he was the most famous. And people were coming and learning from him, but what they were learning was something that he was bringing in Western influence into. So he was removing so much of the Veda, the aspect of, we call it Vedic astrology. He was removing so much of that and adding the Western influence to make it more updated, more cool, more westernized. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was asked to go there and to challenge him. And at first, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't want to do that. That wasn't his mission. That wasn't his thing. He was completely absorbing himself in Krishna, in the holy names, in seva. But yet, he did it because it was establishing the Vedas. It was not taking anything from the West or from any external thing. The Vedas in themselves are enough. They don't need any new kind of Western influence to shine a light on it or to make it perfect. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went there and he began to challenge him. And so many of this person's disciples, he was quite old, stood up and they were confronting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. At that time, the main student of this Pandit, he stood up and he started challenging Saraswati Thakur, and they had a very big debate in front of all of the teachers and all of the prominent people of the college. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur literally tore to shreds all of his conceptions and smashed them and showed how they were wrong, how they couldn't be accepted, and how they were pretty much against what is real astrology. So Saraswati Thakur just ripped it apart. And it is said that this Pandit, you will call an astrologer a Pandit as well. So this Pandit was so shocked and so horrified that he was so completely devastated and defeated by Srila Saraswati Thakur that he actually passed stool and urine right there on the spot, because his whole lifetime's work was completely defeated in front of all of his students, in front of all of the professors. He was pretty much ground to nothing. So at that time, after this meeting, all of the heads, especially of the university, they came to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and said, we want to save this specific chair for you alone. As long as you are here, no one can actually fill it but you. So please, you take this seat in our university, that you are the head of basically mathematics and the calculations of the stars. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I have not come here to count the stars in the sky or the grains of sand on the ocean. He didn't come for this type of material kind of thing. So he denied it. He said, no, I don't accept. So then they told him that as long as you are present in this world, no one can fill this seat. So it will always be vacant until you leave this world. Wow. They realized that there was nobody who could surpass him. And Srila Saraswati Thakur, he left there and he went back to doing his bhajan. We hear that Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, before he left this world, he sent a letter to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Somewhere I read that it was a vision, but either way, we've heard what he said to Saraswati Thakur. And basically, he's saying, don't be a miser. You're sitting there, you're doing nirjan bhajan, fulfilling your own heart. But where is jiva daya? Where is giving to the world? And so the letter actually starts with Saraswati, and he kind of chastises him. Don't do this. Don't be like this. You should go out and you should give what Mahaprabhu has come to give. And at that time still, he really didn't have the mood to do it. And during this time also, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur left this world, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he made a beautiful samadhi for him. Also, he made one in Godrum, I believe, wasn't it? He made a samadhi, a pushpa samadhi for him. And Srila, where was I?
Did you want to read that letter quickly?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty small writing.
Let me see.
It's just there.
Where?
See, it
That
says,
whole big thing?
yeah, it's not that big.
You do it. Sorry, guys. It's really small writing.
The following is a letter written by Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he starts it with Saraswati. People of this world who are proud of their own aristocratic birth attack the pure Vaishnava. Thus, they commit offense. The solution to the problem is to establish the order of Daiva Varnashram Dharma. That is transcendental Varnashram Dharma. Something you started doing. You should know that to be the real service to the Vaishnava. Because pure devotional conclusions are not being preached, all kinds of superstition and bad concepts are being called devotion by such pseudo-sampradayas as Sahajya and Atibadi. Please always crush these anti-devotional concepts by preaching pure devotional conclusion and by setting an example. Please try very hard to make sure that the service to Sri Mayapur will become a permanent thing. The real service to Sri Mayapur can be done by acquiring printing presses, distributing devotional books, and Sankirtan, preaching. Please do not neglect to serve Sri Mayapur or to preach for the sake of your own reclusive bhajan. When I am not present anymore, please take care to serve Sri Mayapur Dham, which is so dear to you. This is my special instruction to you. I had a special desire to preach the significance of such books as Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Sat Sandarbha, and Vedanta Darshan. You have to accept that responsibility. Sri Mayapur will prosper if you will establish an educational institution there. Never make any effort to collect knowledge or money for your own enjoyment. Only to serve the Lord will you collect these things. Signed, Kedarnath Datta Bhaktivedānta. Wow. Srila Gurudev said that he always saw him as a little boy, even though he was so qualified, so brilliant. Like our Param Gurudev also saw all of them as little boys, and our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada saw his disciples as little boys. He even told them, if you need to, better to sell the bricks, but keep the preaching going. If you need to, and our Param Gurudev told his disciples, if you need to sell the temple to maintain yourself, to be able to eat, then you can sell it brick by brick. So Bhaktivedānta Thakur also saw Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his disciple. I'm saying his disciple because that is their primary relationship, as his little boy. So he has this Vatsalyata to him as his disciple.
So this letter, as far as I remember, I didn't read it this time, but I think a couple of years ago I read it, that this letter, came after Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur left his manifest vision. And still Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't get up and start going out and preaching. And then it is said that one day while he was chanting, a gust of wind came by and it blew a piece of paper and it landed in front of him. And he picked it up and it was a piece of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it is where Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Śrī Sanātana Gosvāmī about Jiva Doya, going out and preaching and giving Krishna. So seeing it, he realized that this is also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kind of chastisement, that what are you doing? Get up, go out. So not long after this, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj also left this world. And it is said that at that time, Srila Saraswati Thakur, he wasn't a Babaji, and he wasn't a sannyasi or brahmachari. He was wearing green. And he had a green woolen chadar, and I think he had just like a wraparound kind of cloth. But he wore green because it is the color of Madhurya Bhav. It is the color of Radha and Krishna meeting. It is the color of Vrindavan. So he used to wear green all the time. That's a little thing I thought was very sweet. I told Kishori yesterday, green is my favorite color. So when Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj left this world, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to that spot, and he saw so many, what he figured were so-called disciples of Babaji Maharaj, and they were arguing what to do with his transcendental body. Many were saying that they should burn it, and then others were saying that, oh, but he said that he wanted to be tied by his feet to a bullock cart and be dragged through the dust of the holy Dham. And they were fighting about this, and then again they were saying, no, we should burn him. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he basically said, none of you are his disciples. I am his only disciple. And they were like, what? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, you actually don't understand him. It is out of his deep humility that he said this, that he spoke this, that he wanted to be dragged like this, not literally. And the fact that you have this idea of burning his transcendental body, you obviously don't understand that he is in samadhi. And so they started fighting with him, and he said, if any one of you touches him, you will be ruined. You will be ruined. He said, but if any one of you within the last month, within the last few weeks, within the last week, and then he said within the last day, have not had any illicit connection with a woman, then you may take his transcendental body. If you touch him otherwise, you will be ruined. Wow. Everybody stopped. And it is said that there was a police officer there at the time, and he said, well, how will you know they're telling the truth? And Srila Saraswati Thakur looked at them and he said, I will believe them. But we know that he actually famously said, I am a proofreader. I am a proofreader of men. Well, how does he say that? Do you remember?
He said it, yes. He said, I see people, I read them, their moods, their intentions. I'm a proofreader of people.
Yes, I'm a proofreader of people. So they all obviously realized that he could read them, and they were afraid of being cursed. He said they would be ruined, so they all left that place. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he took the transcendental body of his Guru Maharaj and placed him into Samadhi, where he was doing bhajan. And after some time, that place became flooded, and the disciples, mainly our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswāmī Maharaj, transported his full Samadhi to another safe location. So after this time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur realized it is time. I have to go out now and I have to preach. I'm not exactly sure when he got his press. I think it was before he took sannyas. He went to Calcutta, and going there, he wanted, do you have something you want me to read?
Oh, I am a proofreader.
Oh, okay, before I go on.
It's just short. Just that part.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. Sorry about that.
No. Just remind me where I was. I'm a little scatterbrained today. I am not only a proofreader of the press, I am a proofreader of men. I see their faults and try to correct them. I am also a proofreader of religion. Wow. I have appeared in the zodiac sign of the crab. So whenever I see anything undevotional, I act like a crab. If I see any so-called devotion, not actually in the true unalloyed spirit, I shall pierce it.
Woo!
Wow.
You love him.
Okay, so where was I? Oh, he went to Calcutta. Now, we know that one of the things that Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj told him was never go to Calcutta. And that was basically the first thing that he did. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I am going to the mat. Basically, I'm going to a temple. I'm going to a place of service. So actually, I am going to Vaikuntha. It is not the place of Kali. But also he explained that within the heart of the pure devotee, Krishna is always present. Therefore, Vrindavan is always there. They never take one step out of Vrindavan. So we know that when Srila Prabhupada and when our Gurudev and when the pure Vaishnavas leave India and they travel around the world to give Krishna, they are carrying Krishna within their heart. Gurudev said, Krishna's not alone. All of his parikar are there. All of his associates are there. Srimati Radhika is there. His holy dham is there. His cows are there. All are there within his heart. Mahaprabhu, Navadvip, all are there. He's never alone. Otherwise, how can he give Krishna? How can he give Harikatha? He would be telling like we tell, just some kind of memorization. But actually, he's giving Krishna. He's breathing life into everyone by giving life. So they are never going to any material place. Actually, one time, after our Guru Mahārāja, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, it's all these big names. He came back from his first preaching tour in the West, and one of the ladies in Mathura, they asked him, "Oh, Gurudev, how is it that you were able to leave Vrindavan for so long? How could you bear it? How could you be away from Braj?" And Gurudev said, "I never left Braj. Everywhere I went, I saw Vaishnavas, I saw devotees chanting, I saw Giriraj Govardhan, and I saw Radhakun and Shamakun, I saw Jamuna," and he started telling all of the beautiful places that he saw. And then he looked at this devotee, and he told her, "Even though you live in Mathura, even though you live in Braj Mandal, you have never been to Braj."
Wow.
So, just imagine wherever they are going. We may be sitting here, but what are we seeing? We're seeing dogs and pigs and monkeys and the cold and garbage and, seeing all of those things that are flaws in this world. And we're seeing the holy dham through our eyes of enjoying tendency. I don't like the noise. I don't like the garbage. I don't like this. Oh, this Brajbasi is beeping at me. I don't like. So we're seeing everything through our mundane vision. So that is what we see. But they're not seeing that. They see a completely holy, different Braj. They're seeing Radha and Krishna. As we know, our Goswamis were going from tree to tree. Hey Radhe Vrajadevike Chalalite. What happened here under this tree? They would do bhajan and they would see all leelas. Then the next day they would go to another place. So this is really what a Tattvadarshi is witnessing. It smells really bad. Is that from out there?
Maybe.
From right here?
Yeah.
Allergens.
Would you like an allergy test?
No. I don't want any medicine. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Calcutta and he applied for a printing press. Back then, you couldn't just go to a shop and get a printing press. Like nowadays, you can just buy what you want and do what you want. You don't even need that. You go online and you can write a book, you can do anything. But then, especially because it was during the time of the British rule, not anybody was just allowed to have a printing press because they could print so much paraphernalia against the establishment, they could make so much havoc. So he had to undergo some kind of investigation, and it took time. But he was able to secure and get a permit to have a printing press, which he called, as we famously have heard, the Brihat Mridanga. And this Mridanga, he used to glorify it, that it doesn't only have a certain limit of sound, but it can go in all languages, to all places, to all jivas. So he was a very great proponent of book distribution and printing of books. We know that not only did, within his first, I think it was 6 months to a year, he had like 6 full books printed and distributed. He had a monthly magazine, he had a weekly magazine, and a daily update. And one person once came to him and they said, "Won't you run out of content? Every day you're doing this, every week, every month, plus all of your books. Where do you get all the information? Aren't you going to run out?" And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, every day, every single day, there is a newspaper in every province and every country of the world telling the news of this world. Every day, the same old thing. But Vaikuntha is unlimited and Krishna is ever fresh. there is always newer and newer content, and it is eternal. We can never run out. Can you imagine? Like sometimes when it's an appearance or disappearance, or it's any particular subject we have to speak on, we think, oh, where will I find that? And will it fill an hour? Or you don't know. You just have a certain amount that you can come up with. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is like, it's unlimited. There's no end to it. We can go on for time immemorial while we're doing this. So this was his mood. So he rented one big house there where some householder disciples, they weren't disciples yet, but householders came. Many different young people started to flock around him, and he started to give lectures every day. Around this time, he realized that he needed to accept sannyas. But as we've previously heard, there was a very dark time, about 200 to 300 years. There was like a very dark time for Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It became covered with Sahajism. It became covered with all kinds of... Can you do that?
Oh, just covering that. That smell's coming from the drain.
The drain?
Yeah. They didn't build it properly.
So, sewage smell comes from our drain, so... So at that time, he realized, he was thinking, who can give me sannyas? Both of his Sri Gurus, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, who actually re-established this Vaishnava lineage in the mood of what Mahaprabhu came to give in the line of Sri Rupa Goswami, he left this world. And also, Gaura-Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj also left. He thought, who can give? He realized there was no one. So he sat down in front of a picture of Srila Gaura-Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj, and he accepted initiation into sannyas. This is extraordinary, and many people tried to say, oh, he didn't really accept proper sannyas. Who was his sannyas guru? They tried to find any fault. Usually it was the Brahmins and the caste Goswamis who were having this kind of mood, trying to find anything. But the fact is that he really didn't have to take sannyas, just like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's Krishna himself. He did it out of an external consideration for preaching. And it is the same with our acharyas. They don't have to do that, but they do it to show by example that we have left everything, and now 100% we are surrendered to Krishna. He is my maintainer. He is my protector. He is my everything. This is actually anukulyasya sankalpa. This is like the doorway to bhakti, really, if we think about the external vesh of sannyas, if it's just the external. But who could give someone like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Gopi Bhav? Who could give him that mantra? Who was qualified? Especially this reader of men, reader of people, who was editing everything and everyone, and who was very, very strong with the truth, and who was a tattvadarshi. It is famously said that when Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur bowed down to his guru, Bipin Bihari Goswami, wasn't it?
Yes.
That Srila Saraswati Thakur said, oh, you're not qualified to be his...
Bipin Bihari put his feet on the head of Bhaktivedānta Thakur.
He put his feet on Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur's head, and Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, it's his guru externally. And at that time, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur left the room, and Saraswati Thakur, young boy, he said something like, oh, obviously you are not of that caliber, because if you knew who he was, you would never have put your feet on his head. You never would have done that. Then Bhaktivedānta Thakur came back in the room, and Bipin Bihari Goswami said to Bhaktivedānta Thakur, oh, your son is very bold, almost to the point of being rude. And Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur used to tell people, oh, my son is so bold, he even chastised my guru. So who is there that could give him sannyas?
Can I add a little something at this
Please,
point?
please.
I'm not going to sit down. So we have a few examples in our a history of the sampradayas where certain personalities who are extraordinary, like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, Madhvacharya, and Ramanujacharya, they were able to manifest and show something extraordinary like what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada did by sitting in front of that picture. He didn't even need to sit in front of a picture, but anyhow, to receive sannyas directly from his guru who had physically departed, but because he was so intimately connected and his guru is transcendental, there was no need for him to go to someone else. His guru was always with him. Madhvacharya also received initiation directly from Vedavyas. Now, Vedavyas is from what time?
Oh, before.
Yes. But still, Madhvacharya, look in our Guru Parampara, Madhva Kohe Vyasa Dasa. So, Madhvacharya went to the Himalayas and received initiation directly from Vedavyas. Of course, we know that Madhvacharya is non-different from Hanuman and non-different from Bhim. So, Madhvacharya was able to basically connect directly to Vyasadeva. And Ramanujacharya, he came late to his guru. His guru Sri Yamunacharya had already departed from this world, and his fingers were all folded up. No, there were some, sorry, there was, no, some were, there's 3 fingers that were still out, and 2 were folded in. And his disciples were carrying, and Ramanuja arrived late. He wanted to receive initiation, something from his guru. He came late to that
I think
time.
they were closed and they opened, right? Okay, you could continue.
No, because he noticed that something was different.
Okay.
There's 3 out. So Ramanuja asked them, has this been like this? And they said, yes. And immediately then and there, Ramanuja sat down and spoke to his guru who was in samadhi, who had technically physically departed, but was in the state of equal consciousness with the absolute, samadhi. And Ramanujacharya said, I will accept sannyas. Boom, immediately one finger closed. Then he said, I will make a commentary on Vedanta Sutra in the Vaishnava conceptions. And that's not Govinda Bhashya, Śrī Bhashya. And another finger closed. And he said, and I will preach the conceptions of bhakti all over. And the other finger closed. And immediately all of the other disciples, even though they were technically much senior to him, recognized that this person is the qualified recipient to be the next Acharya. He was in divine communion, in essence, with his Gurudev. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had this kind of connection with his Guru, as our Srila Prabhupada did as well.
Also, we hear about Gopal Guru Goswami when we went to, not Bhakshivat, Dear Samir. We went there and we talked about that, how he was there, he had entered Samadhi, they put him in Samadhi, but his disciple came here searching for him and found him chanting Harinam at Dear Samir. So we understand that a true disciple can actually communicate with their guru at any time, at all times. So, he gave himself sannyas.
No, his guru gave him sannyas.
His guru.
But people accused him of giving himself sannyas.
So, thus began his preaching. Actually, because you said Vedanta Sutra, there was one thing that I read, I think it was yesterday, and it was saying that there was some Smarta Brahmins who wanted to challenge Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Actually, I think it was Kas Goswami's. Anyway, they wanted to challenge him to a debate. And they said, we want to challenge you to a debate, but you can't speak from Śrīmad Bhagavatam. So he agreed, okay, I'll come. Then they thought about it and they sent a message back saying, you can't speak from Mahabharata and you can't speak from Ramayana. And so he said, okay, I'll come. And then they sent another message back saying, you can't speak from the Vedas, the Upanishads, you can't speak, and they said from the Smritis, from Shruti.
From the Vedas he could.
No, from all of these. And then they said, you can only speak from Vedanta Sutra, just only that. And he said, okay, I'll come. And then after some time, they sent him another message saying, never mind, don't come. So he defeated them by saying he would go, but they became so afraid.
They knew. They knew.
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started to preach. I mean, he was always preaching, but he started to do his outward preaching now. And it is said that he had a core group around him. And our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswāmī Mahārāja, was one of them. He was 16 when he first came to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His two aunties were very, very close to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And one day, while he was sitting having a discussion with the three of them, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was talking about all the mats he was going to open, all of the preaching he was going to do, and they laughed. They said, "Oh, how will you be able to do this? You're only a few men." And he looked and he said, "Vinod will do everything."
They said, "You're penniless, you don't have anything. You're like dreaming of being the emperor of the world, but you have nothing. How are you going to do this?"
And he said, "Vinod Bihari will do everything." And so, one thing that I just want to add here that's really important. Before this time, they weren't giving Diksha initiation to females. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was challenged by the aunties of Param Gurudev. They said, "What? Are we not jivas also? Do we not matter because we are women? We can't make spiritual progress because we're women?" And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "Oh, okay." And he gave them Diksha mantras.
Haribol.
And then Param Gurudev also received Harinam and Diksha from him. But he only received the Gopal, I didn't even...
Brahma Gayatri, Gopal Mantra, and Kam Gayatri.
Not Gaur?
Not?
I know not Guru.
Guru and Gaur.
Okay. So he said to Saraswati Thakur, "Do I have to go to any other mat, to any other guru or sampradaya to get Guru mantras and Gaur mantra? Or can you give them to me? Will you please be merciful and give it?" And so at that time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started to give Guru mantra, Guru Gayatri, Gaura mantra, Gaura Gayatri. So we owe so much to the family of our Param Gurudev and to Param Gurudev that now women were being initiated into the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. I don't know before what was going on. We know there were Vaishnavas that were women, that were female, but I don't know about initiations. I know at the time of Mahaprabhu and also at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they were very careful, like there was a curtain that they would listen to behind. They wouldn't be sitting in the big assembly. So there were restrictions with male and female, obviously more so than now. So I don't know what the restrictions were, but I do know that he wasn't going to give, and they challenged him and he gave. So because of that, we
That's
are
the rare circumstance, those couple where
that
he
you
was
can
defeated.
challenge. Yeah, right. Those are the rare instances where he was defeated. So it is said that during his traveling and preaching, he started to go to all of the places where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been. And he was documenting, taking very meticulous notes and research, because Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur uncovered Gaur Mandal, and especially Mayapur, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. It took him probably about 10 years. He had a vision, and Mahaprabhu showed him that this is the place I was born. Then he brought Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, himself, and Saraswati Thakur, all Mahabhagavats confirming this is the place, and yet he still did so much research, going to the villagers, going to libraries, looking at histories to find out where everything was. Old maps. He did so much research to make sure. So this is something also Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Goswāmī Maharaj would say, that if anyone has any divine darshan, any darshan of the holy Dham, any Guru darshan, any Krishna darshan, any Radha darshan, if somebody says that they have had this, he said the only way that we can accept that is being real, as being the absolute truth, is if two or more?
No, many.
As if many Mahabhagavats confirm it. If many, many Kanishtas confirm it, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's like, millions of kindergarten children, appointing the dean of the school. What does it matter? They're children. They don't know what they're doing. They like someone, so they appoint them. But that doesn't mean that that person is qualified. So Bhaktivedānta Bharati Gosvāmī Mahārāja said that any kind of revelation, it must be accepted by many Mahabhagavats, like Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is also a divine vision. Also Bhagavad Gita, Sanjay is witnessing it while he's sitting next to Dhritarashtra, telling him what his sons are doing on the battlefield. So we have to understand that we don't take things cheaply. And also Bhaktivinoda Thakur, although many Mahabhagavats also agreed he had a vision, he still spent so many years getting meticulous accounts and research to prove to the lay people who are always doubting to understand that this is in fact the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Goswamis of Vrindavan did the same. So our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur traveled all around India, and everywhere that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, he would document that. He would go and research, and then he would also install Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's footprints in those different places, along with dates that he had been there. He was very, very careful to make sure that those places don't become lost. So we hear how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur did this in Gaur Mandal, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did it all around India. Wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone, he installed the footprints, and also some mats. He opened different mats in those places. It is said in his time when he was preaching, he was 44 when he accepted sannyas. And he was how old when he departed? In his 60s, not so old. But he established 64 mats in that time. So it's a very, very big undertaking that he went and he established these places. And also at that same time, he was becoming very, very popular. So many very good-hearted people who had a natural inclination toward bhakti, toward Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they stayed away because of the bad name that the Gaudiyas were giving to bhakti and to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So they were kind of like, we don't want anything to do with this. They would practically spit when they would hear about Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But they had attraction to Krishna. They had attraction to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they stayed quietly away. At this time, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was going around and preaching, throngs of supporters started to come out, and they saw this is the real Acharya. He is giving that very essence of what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was coming to give. He is establishing the not the prominence, but the pristine nature of what our Goswamis have come to give. And so he was attracting so many personalities. It is said, I think, that he had about 60,000 disciples by the time he left this planet. So you can imagine how much he was preaching and what he was doing everywhere. At the same time that he had so many supporters, he also had so many people coming against him, particularly those in the Nityananda Vangsha. Those Jata Gosais, those caste Goswamis, they were actually plotting to kill him. And at one point, some of them went to the police, the chief of police, and said, we want to give you a bribe. We're going to kill this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And the police chief said, normally I take bribes for things, but not for the killing of sadhus. So he kicked them out. And immediately he went to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and those who were around him and told them, these people are going to try to kill you. And so it averted a calamity. Of course, we know that Rake Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rake. If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. That goes with all of us. But he takes particular care of those who are completely surrendered to him. like we have seen in the history of Prahlad Maharaj, how his father tried to kill him in so many ways. We've seen also in the body of Sri Haridas Thakur, how he was bitterly beaten in 22 marketplaces, and yet he didn't leave, because Mahaprabhu was taking those lashings himself. So we know that no one could actually kill Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The same goes for Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada. So many times people bring up about him being poisoned in these things. And Gurudev said it may be true. But actually, if somebody tried to do it, it may be. He said, but nobody could kill him. Nobody. If they poisoned him, if they tried to shoot him, if they tried to stab him, if they tried to do anything to him, there's no way that it could have any effect. Only if Krishna decided to take him, only then will he leave this place. Not because of some materialistic or material beings. This would mean that he is actually bound by the defects of a Baddha Jiva. Adhyatmik, Adhidaivic, Adhibautic, that he is suffering the threefold miseries, which he is not. So to say that actually means that we are making him a mundane personality. And that is against all proper etiquette, especially for someone of the caliber of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada.
He said, like Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu tried to poison him and tried to kill him in so many ways, but nothing could affect him. In the same way, nothing could affect Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. So he was going and he was doing so much preaching. And it is said that many, many persons were very favorable to the idea that there was no conception or worry for anyone's caste or creed. In India, even still, it's a very big thing. If someone is born in a family of those who are working in a crematorium, they are absolutely untouchable. They cannot marry out of their caste, and nobody wants to be near them. If someone is sweeping the sewages, if they're cleaning stool in the gutters, they can't get out of that caste. They're always considered untouchable, and most of them aren't even allowed in temples. Gurudev had one disciple, one girl who was a bungi, a sweeper, and he just said to maintain some distance because people will make a problem. But he always allowed her to come in the temple to take darshan of Thakurji. So, but the point is that caste system is very, very big here. I mean, we're always speaking about the Brahmins and the Jata Goshais, but even the Shudras, all of their different levels, all of the different levels of Kshatriyas, of all the different levels of any kind of caste, the rich, the poor, all of them, they all have their subdivisions, and nobody wants to let them forget where they stand. And if anyone has even one toe that is above another, they can't let them forget it. It's the way it is. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was breaking all of this. He was breaking all of these stigmas, and he was breaking all of this idea that this person is bound in that body for time immemorial and has no right to bhakti. He said this is totally and completely against what is the Sanatana Dharma of the Jiva, which is basically what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote him in that letter. You establish this. What is the eternal Dharma of the Jiva? Actually, it is said that when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was compiling, and I'm saying compiling because it was divine vision, Gurudev said that this isn't a made-up thing, but when he was compiling and writing Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was taking notes, and he was actually
He was the scribe.
He was the scribe, and also he was editing everything. So he was very, very much understanding what is the nature of the jiva and how no distinct material nature should be put on anyone and should bar them from Krishna Bhakti. And also our Gurudev had the same mood when we were told to charge for kirtan. Gurudev was like, no one should actually be made to pay for kirtan. He said, if the venue needs to be paid for, for, then you can ask for something, but no one should be made to pay anything if they can't. No one should be barred from entering the kirtan and the harikatha of the Lord. That's not ours to sell. Today I read Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur said, there is no such thing as a paid devotee, as a paid servant. How can a real sevak be paid? So our Gurudev was saying, don't make anyone feel bad. Don't charge. If you need to charge for the venue, do it on the side. Approach some rich people.
And say it's for the venue, but it's not for the kirtan.
Yes, you can come in for the kirtan. If you can give even $1 toward the venue, that's fine. But nobody should be barred. So our acharyas all have this mood that nothing should stop us, whether it's money, whether it's the color of our skin, whether it's the family we've been born into, whether it's a male, a male, female, who knows, whatever it may be. None of this matters. Okay, we keep animals at a distance generally, but still they get benefit from hearing even if they're in the vicinity. So our acharyas were very clear on this, that no one should be barred by any how or any way. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was traveling around for 10 years like this. So one day, he went to the opening of one of his temples, and he arrived there and he saw that one of the brahmacharis that was previously there trying to get everything together for him was no longer there. And he became very sorry at heart. So he looked at the brahmacharis and he said, where is this young brahmachari? Where did he go? They said, oh, Guru Maharaj, he was having some illicit relationship with a woman. And so we told him to go. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur became very upset. He said, I'm not going to do the opening. I'm not going to have any celebration. He said, that jiva has been suffering in samsara since time immemorial. And he has attraction to Krishna. He came to me. And now you've thrown him away. And he has no way to come back. Now he's embarrassed. Even if he wanted to come back, he can't. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, I don't want to open this temple. I don't want to do it. Go and find him. And once you find him, bring him to me. Then I will take part in this festival. So one of the brahmacharis, they said, actually, once I saw him, a devotee had like a stopwatch and it broke. And so he opened it up and fixed it. He said, I think he used to know how to repair watches. We'll go and find him. So they went into the villages and went to all of the watchmakers, and they found him in the back of one of the shops, fixing a watch. And they said, I don't remember his name, but they said, Guru Maharaj is calling for you. He's weeping for you. And that devotee began to cry, and he said, I was praying and praying to Gurudev and Krishna, please, somehow or other, bring me back. He said, I knew that there was no way I could show my face, but I was praying to Guru and Krishna to please rescue me. And so then they brought him back, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur re-enlisted him in the mandir, and he performed the festival. The other day, when Kishori Mohan Prabhu was giving out the chadars and the donations to some of the needy Brajabasis, Govardhanbasis, he told the story of the 2 lemons. And how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you don't understand, you denied her. Those 2 lemons were sufficient enough to stop her samsara in this material world because she was offering it to Guru and Krishna, and you didn't accept it, seeing it as something that is not enough to feed everyone. So he got up out of the pandal he was in and walked toward that lady, and he told them, show me where she was. He knocked on the door and said, please give me those lemons. How merciful our acharyas are. This should give us great hope and show us that even if what we have to give isn't something grand, isn't something great, then even Krishna says, if you only have a leaf, a flower, some water, but you offer it with devotion, then I will accept it. What to speak of accepted? He becomes greedy for that. Our gurus, they are non-different. If they see us trying to make any kind of connection with them, any kind of service to them, to Guru and Krishna, automatically their hearts begin to melt. And that in itself is sufficient to give us so much spiritual sukriti, so much strength that we can run on the path of bhakti. So we should always understand that those things can't be denied. If anyone comes and gives the smallest thing, it is actually the greatest treasure, because it is something from their own heart that they're offering. They have this mood in their heart, I have to give something. Something is propelling me and moving me to give. And to deny that means that we are denying that eternal jiva some connection with Guru and Krishna. This is jiva hingsa.
Oh yeah, what about when we were taking care of Gurudev and everyone was bringing their gifts?
Say it.
No, you can tell that part, remember?
Oh, I don't know the part you want.
Remember how Braj Mandal Parikrama, when we sat down, because
they
were bringing too much.
So when we were serving Srila Gurudev in his last manifest leelas in this world, his departure leela, in the evening, we were on our feet from 5:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock at night, just continuous. We would have a half-hour break for lunch. That was it. And so sometimes in the evening, when Gurudev was taking rest, Braj Mandal Prabhu would have us go and have meetings with different devotees, not doctors, just devotees who were coming and wanting to give their prescription to Gurudev. You know how if you say you're sick, everyone comes in with, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this, and I cured this and this with that. So everyone has their remedies that they know absolutely will work. That was happening. You can imagine everybody wanted to give the best thing to Gurudev. So what they had to offer, their knowledge, they wanted to give. So every couple of nights we would have to sit there and listen to all the devotees give their prescriptions for Gurudev. And one day I said to Braj Mandal Prabhu, this is too much. Like, why are we doing this? We're not even implementing it. We're not giving it. We're just listening to them. And it's taking so much time, and we have so much seva. Why are we doing this? And Braj Mandal Prabhu said, that is what they have to offer to Gurudev. And the moment they are telling us, the moment they are offering it, that is their offering to Gurudev. He's accepting it. This is their way of serving Gurudev right now. So we have to take the time to serve the devotees so that they can serve Gurudev. This is our duty. And I just thought, wow, never knew Braj Mandal Prabhu was so broad-minded and soft-hearted. He seemed so
rigid.
Yeah, very hard, very strong. He didn't laugh a lot, well, at least not with ladies. And all of a sudden, he's showing his very soft heart, and he's saying, this is their offering. And it really opened my mind and my heart. I thought, oh, wow, it's true. This is their greatest gift that they've come to give. Their knowledge, what they know absolutely will work. And they're offering it to Gurudev. And their medium of offering it was our ears. But Gurudev is accepting all of that. Krishna is accepting that. And so we had to sit down and listen. And afterwards it became something, not like a pleasure, but it became something of a beautiful interaction because it was service. So it was very beautiful. Please don't get me wrong. I think Braj Mandal Prabhu is very nice. But, you know, he has a stern external nature sometimes. So one of the things that we've heard about Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur was that when he had his Gaudiya Mats, if he saw that any devotees were fighting, if they were arguing, he had a habit of calling an assembly. All the devotees, the Mat Brahmacharis, would have to come together. And Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur would call those two who were fighting and quarreling. And he would say, oh, you, such and such, stand up and glorify your God brother for 25 minutes, for 1/2 hour. And that person would have to stand up and glorify for a very long time. And then when they were done, that person, hearing all their glories, would have to stand up and then tell the glories and see the good in their God brother. It is said one time that our Param Gurudev had to do that. He had to stand up and glorify. I think it was somebody named Paramananda.
Yes.
And Paramananda, what Param Gurudev did, he didn't directly glorify that person, but everywhere in Shastra where there was the name Paramananda, he was quoting and talking about Paramananda according to Vedic scriptures and Guru and Vaishnavas, and everyone began to laugh and they were so delighted. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would initiate his disciples and would say, you have to wear a garland of Trinadapi Sunichena. He said, this is our Siddha Pranali. This is what will bring us perfection. This mood of being more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, giving all respect to others and not expecting any for myself. Once somebody came to him and said, you know, you have this big Gaudiya Mat. You have all of these people in here and I see that they're continuously fighting. What is the point? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just give it up and preach? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, my Gaudiya Mat is like a big bag of rocks, like a big sack of rocks. And these rocks have so many points on them and they're jagged and have so many edges. And he said, my Gaudiya Mat is like that huge sack. And inside, with all of those rocks, he said the Harikatha, the Hari Seva, and even the quarreling is like that bag being shaken up and down and back and forth. He said, and then when you open that sack, when you open that bag and you pull those stones out, you will see that all of that bumping and rubbing together and coming together in a very harsh way is actually making them very smooth and beautiful. And he said, so my Gaudiya Mat is like this, that yes, they may be quarreling, there may be so many difficulties, but actually I'm making them qualified. They are becoming soft, they are becoming shining jewels that can be offered to Krishna. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had this kind of attitude when any disciples would come to him, because he not only told his disciples that they had to wear this garland, but also they were supposed to chant 1 lakh of Harinam a day, 64 rounds a day, plus all the preaching, all the serving, all of the going out and preaching. They had so much to do. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also did the same thing. He also wore this garland of Trinadapi Sunichena. Sometimes we hear how he is the lion Acharya, the lion Guru. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj said he was heavy like a thunderbolt, but he was soft as a rose. But we should know his humility to Guru and Krishna is so sublime and utmost. If you read some of his writings, or some of the times when it's his Vyas Puja, how he berates himself, how he calls himself like a buffoon and an animal sitting on the stage and everyone's looking at him. But for the service of Krishna, he accepted that. When any disciples would come in front of him and offer pranam, when they would offer obeisance, he would bow his head and say, Dasosmi, I am your servant. I am your servant. Therefore, our Param Gurudev, it is said that he would never directly offer pranam to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he would go from behind him and offer pranam because he couldn't bear for his Guru Maharaj to offer that kind of respect. And Srila Saraswati Thakur would always use ap or api like this. It's an honorific kind of way of addressing someone. But to our Param Gurudev, he would call tui. And tui is kind of like you would tell a child, you know, or somebody like lesser than you, somebody that is very close to you. Like you wouldn't use an honorific with your own child. So he would use that tui with Param Gurudev to show his near and dearness to Param Gurudev. Also, we know that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, like the Goswamis had sent out Narottam, Srinivas, and Shamananda, he sent his disciples to the west. The first time the Gaudiya Vaishnavas went to the west, and they went to preach. They went to Germany and to England. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur really was so hopeful to spread this divine knowledge and the moods of our acharyas, especially what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. He wanted to give to the world. So we know that our Srila Prabhupada came to him at quite a young age. I think he was in his 20s, no? 1921?
1896. Well, I'm not exactly
Anyway, Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charanaravinda was his name after initiation. He came to Srila Saraswati Thakur, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so eager to help all of us that the first thing he said to him, 22, you are an intelligent young man and you speak English nicely. You should preach in the English language. And we know that since that time, our Srila Prabhupada carried that burning order and that burning desire to fulfill the moods of his Gurudev in his heart. And at some point he did, and he changed the face of this world. But we also have heard how he would practice speaking English at Radha Damodar, and our Gurudev would send all of the devotees to go and hear him. And they didn't want to. They're like, we don't understand English. And then later they were saying, oh, he was practicing on us. They're very, very happy. So it is said that as Srila Saraswati Thakur was traveling around India, and especially in the holy places, many of the temples and even the shops would close their doors and wouldn't let them buy necessities, and they wouldn't let them into the temples because of his stance on Brahmanas and Jata Goshais. Many of the Brahmins aren't actually living as Brahmins. They're living as shopkeepers. They're living as many other things. So they were also very angry at the Gaudiya Vaishnavas now, the Gaudiya Mat, and they would close their storehouses. We know that when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came here to Braj Mandal, especially to Vrindavan, all of the caste Goswamis decided to shut their doors and to not allow any of them into the main temples of Vrindavan. So that means Madan Mohan, Gopinath, Shyamasundar, Radha Damodar, even Radharaman. Many of them wanted to close the doors on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but we know that Madhusudan Goswami was very near and dear to Bhaktivedānta Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta. Although he wasn't there at the time, his one person in his lineage, because of that, and he was aware of them, he fought to keep the doors open. And so the only temple that allowed Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his disciples in was Radharamanji. So when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had darshan of Radharamanji, he said, we haven't lost anything. By coming here, we have had the darshan of Madan Mohan, Govindaji, and Gopinath. He said, in the feet of Radharaman are Madan Mohan, and in the waist and torso is Radha Govinda, and the face of Radharamanji is the face of Gopinath. By this also we can understand when Kishori Mohan Prabhu, he says many times that they worship him there as Lal, as a little boy. Even sometimes you hear on the tape Gurudev saying Radharamana Lal Ki Jai. But actually all of our acharyas, our Gurudev, our Guruvar, we understand that Radharaman is not a baby. He's not a little boy. He is actually non-different from Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinath, like this. So there, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was also stating this.
I heard that he actually used to live in that inner courtyard.
Oh, this is way back, actually, yes. When Bhaktivedānta Thakur was coming to the Holy Dham here, and he was he was going around different parts of India. He came here to Braj Mandal and he stayed for some time. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stayed in the Radharaman Gera where Radharamanji appeared. Nowadays you go there and you'll see some Babajis will be there too. But that's where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he stayed for some months.
In his youth, right?
In his youth, and he also was doing a lot of research and collecting so many manuscripts in this area as well about Braj Mandal. So we can see that even after the time of our Goswamis and after the time of Bhaktivedānta Thakur, that Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur was doing the works of the Goswamis, he was also unveiling those holy places where Leelas of our Lord were done. So we can also see him as like one of our Goswamis. What are the main things, what makes one of the Goswamis? They have different attributes. They manifest deities, which he did, Gandharvika Giridhari.
They uncover and rediscover the holy places.
So he was finding all of the places around South India and everywhere Mahaprabhu went, the Baitaks.
Uncover all the holy places. They completely control all of their senses. They have no attraction to anything of this material world.
No, but they write books.
They write transcendental literature and translate and publish and disseminate and preach the mission of...
So he is a Goswami.
By all means.
Do you want to tell that one where they went on Parikrama? Oh.
Which one? Oh, Paramatala.
You know what? I should let you speak. I think you should speak something about Navadvip Parikrama.
Okay.
And maybe about Kanishta ringing a bell. These types of things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give Kishori Mohan Prabhu maybe a half hour.
No. There's only 5 minutes till 8.
If you will allow maybe a half hour more. One thing, maybe you can do this when you come here now so we don't forget. You know that one person who was a Gora Bhakta and his daughter became sick. I have 2 things here highlighted that I was hoping that you could read. That Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said about that. It's here.
All right.
And the next pages. But only the highlighted bits, okay?
Okay.
So you'll tell that. I haven't given him a chance to speak. He looked at the clock and I saw he was anxious.
No. I looked at the clock because
okay, so they'll take another half hour.
I was really happy hearing her speak.
They'll take another half hour. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to again try to remember some of the glories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Although these are so many of the external glories, we haven't spoken about those internal moods of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that he kept quite hidden. But we have to understand that we are so indebted to him. Without him, we wouldn't have Srila Prabhupada. We wouldn't have all of our Guru Varg from him on. So we owe everything to him. And again, please forgive me for being somewhat scatterbrained and stuttering. I'm just a baby trying to do my best right now, but thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to remember his glories and thereby purify myself by trying to remember him and glorify him. He is unlimited and he is just the most fantastic, extraordinary, supremely... I can't even, with everything that I've read, everything that I've ever heard about him, I can't even comprehend one tiny speck of his glories. And I understand that the more that I know, the more I hear, the more I read, I'm just completely shocked. So it's so wonderful that we get this opportunity and that you've given us so much time. So thank you. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Oh.
Here.
Thank you. Okay.
Dandava pranam, radhe radhe. Oh. Now that we've just heard that eloquent presentation of the glories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, you will realize the fool is known when he opens his mouth and speaks. So, did you want me to read this first, or did you?
Well, tell the story a little bit, then read that, and then you just touch the side and it'll go to only the highlighted. Kishori?
Well, I don't know how to do this. Oh, there's one.
Only the. Okay, so this part and here to there. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Just touch it, and it's done. But you just tell about quickly that in what Mahaprabhu he worships.
So, do you know his name?
No.
There was one very, very famous devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was quite popular. And all respected him so much as a great Vaishnava. As people do today. Out of popularity, people respect people as a great Vaishnava, looking at so many of their external characteristics. And it's also quite difficult because pretenders can get very good at what they do. I've witnessed people practicing their classes and even what punchlines they're going to make during the class to get the applause. Like they practice, and then at this point, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be the punchline, and then everyone's going to go, ah, like that. You can see it. People here, hundreds, maybe thousands of people, learn and study how to say certain things in certain ways to get that emotion from the audience. And the better you are at it, the more famous you get at it, the more money you get, the more you can live in luxury, the more Kanaka Kamani and Pratishta you can have. In this connection, what I'm saying, once upon a time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada discovered that one of his disciples was teaching other disciples how to give Harikatha. How to give Harikatha in a practiced kind of way for the purpose of evoking emotion. Not learning in a holistic way out of devotion, but learning how to create an emotion artificially. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada immediately put a stop to it. This is not our process. This is not how one learns or receives Harikatha or how they should disseminate Harikatha. This is not our process. That's all false. And of course, as we know, Sudevi mentioned it a couple of times, he's a proofreader of persons and of activities and of religion. So this kind of activity, practicing for the punchline, so that you can, in essence, sell. Maybe not for the purpose of selling, but if you do good enough, you'll get better donations. Those kind of moods. Pratishta. Pratishta. All kinds of name and fame and reputation, and money will come, and potential for sense gratification can come. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would have none of it. And you can see through his own disciples, through our Srila Prabhupada, through our Param Gurudev, through so many of his own disciples, and those pure grand disciples, like our Gurudev, they could never dream of selling kirtan, of selling Harikatha. But here you find that there are thousands who actually study and learn explicitly for that purpose. In fact, there's one devotee who was watching now. He told us that there's one extremely famous teller of Bhagavat. They tell Bhagavat, it's called Bhagavat Saptaha, 7 days of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Very famous, thousands, millions of people love him. And they arranged a very nice facility for this person, a very nice and comfortable place for him to stay, so that he could deliver Śrīmad Bhagavatam for 7 days. But his main request was, where's my television? There's no television here. And he actually left that place and arranged a fancy hotel, expensive fancy hotel with a television. That was his thing. He wasn't satisfied with the situation that the devotees provided for him. He needed his other thing. And so, sometimes also there are the requirements, unless I have a packed house, minimum 1 lakh rupees that comes in, then I won't deliver that katha. This was completely challenged and decimated, these ideas, by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and his devotees.
People do it with actual, the Maha Mantra, not even giving Harikatha, just like a concert.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was one of his big complaints, and he was always very heavy about it, that the Sahajyas and the Babajis and all, they were actually doing kirtan for funeral processions so that they could make money. And I don't know if you've seen it, there are certain sectors of population that sing in a certain way to kind of evoke emotion. like, and I've witnessed it. In fact, I was recording it once on Braj Mandal Parikrama, and I was like, oh my God. The devotee, like this. And because of what we've heard from our Guru Varga, it was disgusting to see it.
We got so angry.
We're like, and one time there was a devotee, there was a kirtan going on, and the devotee was leading that kirtan, Oh Hey Vaishnava Thakur, with tears in his eyes. It was Kanai Prabhu. And the devotee playing the mridanga, he was like, da, 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 da. And Gurudev just looked at him like, shut up.
He actually, he told him, bus.
Yeah, he said, enough, stop that. Like, really heavy. Because he was distracting from the mood and the bhav to try to bring some attention to himself with this whole thing, but it means he wasn't connected to what was really going on. So our Guru Varga, especially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, would challenge and smash all of these misconceptions. So coming back to this point, this devotee, great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was preaching everywhere the glories of Mahaprabhu, and he was so famous. All were glorifying him as the best devotee of Mahaprabhu, giving big donations, and he was also a very good orator. And so thousands and thousands loved to go and hear from him, and he was always glorified as the best devotee of Mahaprabhu. And then they told this to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada.
His daughter was sick.
No, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada never just at the outset accepted that someone was great. Even when he came to Vrindavan, when he came here, they said, oh, there are so many pure devotees. And he said, where? Show me. I don't see any. Show me where. So this great devotee of Mahaprabhu's daughter had become very sick. Very, very sick. And she was becoming more and more ill. And he actually made a deal. He said, he was praying, oh, if Mahaprabhu heals my daughter, then his glories will surely be known. Then he will truly be more and more famous, because I'm also so famous, and his glories will be known more and more. So he was kind of, I want to say, this is not pure bhakti, this is karma mishra bhakti. I am praying to the Lord, you heal my daughter, because I am serving you. So this person, he was very famous, and his daughter was becoming more and more sick. And as she was becoming more and more sick, he was becoming less and less faithful. And then his daughter passed away. And this person was quite upset. He gave up his service of Mahaprabhu. And he was actually saying, if you would have saved her, then your glories would have been broadcast even more. But what kind of great personality. So he became even offensive. And this was proof that actually his devotion was never really devotion in the first place. It was always conditional about what he was getting in response for his lofty glorification. So he felt that by his own service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Mahaprabhu was indebted to him. Where this is not the mood of a real devotee. The real devotee never thinks that the Lord has to give them anything. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says that Krishna is not a servant in our garden. Oh, is that here? Sorry, it's here.
Well, first he says that he doesn't worship the Mahaprabhu that I worship.
Mm-hmm.
I worship Srivas Thakur's, where he was, wouldn't disturb the kirtan of Mahaprabhu, and he said, I'll kill myself if you disturb him with your crying. He said, that is the Mahaprabhu I worship. So he started like that, and then he spoke this. So
a little history from what Sudevi just said. Srivas Thakur, he would host Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his home in Srivasangam. And there would be the private kirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and some of his intimate associates. And Mahaprabhu would express very deep emotions at that time. So Srivas Thakur's mood was only how to please the Lord and how to help to maintain and nourish the moods that the Lord wanted to experience. At that time, Srivas Thakur's very young son, about 10 years old, passed away. And everyone was crying. All of the family members were crying. And then they started wailing loudly. And Srivas Thakur was thinking, what's going on here? And he went to see, and he was like, you be quiet. You stop this now. If you disturb Mahaprabhu's kirtan, if you disturb his pastime, then I will give up my own life. I'll drown myself in the Ganga. Like this. So with his mood of complete, utter dedication to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is service to the Lord, he had no selfish self-interest. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said that this personality does not worship the same Mahaprabhu that I worship. I worship the Mahaprabhu of Srivas Thakur. Oh, wait.
Yeah, right there.
There.
You know my
So,
don't touch it with your finger unless you're going to turn the page.
is this Saraswati Thakur speaking?
Yes.
This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada.
This is part of what he said.
He spoke a lot of things in this regard. That he said, Mahaprabhu may release all the misfortunes of the universe upon me millions of times so that I will worship him. I am ready for that with all of my senses. Accepting those calamities, I surrender to his feet.
On the thing itself.
Is there? Thinking he is protecting me, drawing me toward his lotus feet. He is most merciful to remove my duplicity. He is not allowing me to enjoy my senses. He is making me understand that other than his lotus feet, there is no eternal object of which to take refuge in this world. I am bearing the heavy weight of karmic reactions due to my past actions. If I endure these with a little sufferance and take refuge in my eternal Lord, I will find actual benefit. It has the next one highlighted slightly.
No, just go to the highlighted.
It defies description how much Mahaprabhu has arranged for our welfare. We are on the path of material enjoyment. To open our eyes, he orchestrates that certain obstacles appear stage by stage among the objects of attachment. He gave me bad health. And step by step, you just hit the page?
Yeah, just hit on it.
Step by step, he gave me accidents. He gave a specific transitory nature to all things to help put us on the spiritual path. Ooh. We think it is unfavorable, but like Kunti Devi, she prays that please send those calamities again and again so that I won't become comfortable in enjoying my high birth, my wealth, my education, and my bodily beauty. These are the source of all of our attachments and those extensions of our attachments. Family, home, children, this and that, all things of this material world that is binding us here. When everything is going perfectly and beautiful in the material world, it is very difficult to focus and concentrate on exclusive service to Krishna. So here Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is saying, even my bad health and my accidents. He also had stomach issues, didn't he?
He had all kinds of things, yeah.
So he left only when he was
in his 60s,
62 years old. So he had so many stomach ailments and other things, but he saw this all as the mercy of Mahaprabhu to keep him focused and fixed, not to be absorbed in the temporary fleeting things of the body or of this world, but to keep one's mind completely focused on Krishna.
That's it.
How was that?
I just wanted that because I think it was like the Tattenu Kampam, but he was showing how Mahaprabhu is arranging these things for our welfare, not to burden us and hurt us.
It's difficult to understand. In this connection, our Srila Gurudev mentioned something very interesting. And not just our Gurudev, but our Guru Varga. That once someone has taken initiation from and accepted the path of bhakti from a pure Guru, Vaishnava Guru, at that point, we have already chanted. We have maybe chanted Namabhas even once. So, what we are receiving, everything that happens in the life of the disciple is actually a lesson, something that is given by Guru and by Krishna to help us. Sometimes it's a very powerful lesson to curb our pride, our ego. So something might happen in our life and we become very proud and then smash. And then we come back to our senses. Like this person who was repairing watches. He was expressing his own lust, and by that it drove him away. But then he was in a situation where he was feeling so desperate that again he was called for by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and given the opportunity to re-engage in devotional service. So we don't understand what's coming up in our lives, but we should understand that those who are on the path, who have accepted Sri Guru, most of those things which come into our lives, they come as lessons, very valuable lessons, to teach us, in essence, how to hold on more desperately, more strongly, with more conviction and more devotion to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas. So Sudevi also requested that I can speak something about the Parikrama, Navadvip Parikrama. This is a very famous, and it's also a bit infamous katha. But we know, as Sudevi told many times already, that there were many people who were against Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. If you see his, I'm going to say the word article. I think you can find it on bdml.org. Jiva Pavana Prabhu previously posted it. I don't know if he's still there, but he was talking about organized religion. And actually he was referencing to Kamsa and Putana, that organized religion, in essence, becomes the dam, the block which stops the free flow of real faith, of real spirituality. That usually that is put together. If a pure devotee is there at the helm, then everything is okay. But after that, then so many try to come in and take control. And what does that control mean? If anyone is coming up in bhakti, they want to keep them repressed or depressed because it's not good for their position, their reputation, their wealth, and everything else. And so he says that organized religion, this is instantly invaded by so many Putana-like characters. And that baby Krishna represents devotion, love and devotion. Immediately, the Kamsas and the Putanas, they want to try to stifle, to stop that devotion. I've witnessed this also in when I was quite young. I remember hearing the temple president and the temple commanders speaking in a way that was quite, I want to use the word disrespectful, but it was actually a little bit abusive. Talking about certain members of the congregation who were big donors. And they were like, we should milk them for whatever we can. I was like, whoa. We used to go to their homes as children. We became friends with their children. And we would do kirtan there. We would have prasadam there. And these people, they were regular attendees to the programs. They would come to the Sunday program, and they were very nice and faithful. Most of them happened to be from India, originally. But the mood was, keep them at a distance so that we can keep milking them for money, instead of giving them the real full inspiration on the path of bhakti to dedicate 100% and serve. If one is inspired like that, they won't only give a little donation, they'll give their life. But there was that kind of mood, and I saw it when I was quite young. It was quite shocking to witness it. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he explained that this kind of organized religion, so many putanas come. Putanas mean false gurus, false teachers. They want to actually stifle, to block the spiritual progress of individuals. And he said every major religion of the world has this nature and tendency where so many demonic persons come to the surface in essence and try to block out anyone's spiritual progress. And you can see it plainly. We have witnessed it in our own lives among thousands of our own siblings, you can say, how so many had this inclination, but certain personalities in positions of power took advantage of that and actually, literally extinguished that fire of inspiration on the path of bhakti. This is the nature of the Putana and Kamsa-like characters. However, when any pure devotee is present, as we have also experienced, then that fire can be reignited. And that is what is required to ignite. That fire is somehow coming to the lotus feet of any pure devotee. Only a Mahabhagavat can undo such damage. I learned that from Sudevi. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was with thousands of devotees. I think it said 5,000 devotees on Navadvip Parikrama. At that time, you can imagine how massive it would have been.
Elephants were there.
They had elephants. They had 108 mridangas. There was Mahaprabhu on top of the elephants, Mahaprabhu Diti. 5,000 pilgrims. And those persons who were afraid of losing their position. Those persons who were proud of their high birth and their education. Those persons who were known as, at the time, Smarta Brahmins and Jata Goshai. This doesn't mean that every Smarta Brahmin is bad or every Jata Goshai is bad. But we should understand.
It's considered an Apa Sampradaya, right?
Yes. Apa Sampradaya means that if you are subscribing to this idea that I am superior and that I am closer to Mahaprabhu because of my birth, this idea is completely opposed to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So,
can I just tell something?
Yes.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a disciple who came to two brahmacharis. They went to him and they're like, we feel like we need to leave the mat, we need to give up. And he's like, why? What happened? And they said, we've been with you for I think it was 2 years, and we feel like we haven't made any progress. And he goes, you don't feel like you've reached Mahaprabhu at all? And they said, no, not at all. And he said, very good. It means you're progressing. He's like, if you felt that you had attained something so quickly, then it would be cheap. And then it would be sahaja. And he said, but the fact that you're feeling you're not gaining anything when you are gaining everything, he said, this is actually a good sign. And so they went back, and it is said that, I don't know who they were, but it said they never left the mat again. They stayed for their entire life.
I was reading that today from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who is explaining that the true testament of one who is actually advancing, of one who is actually advanced, is that they feel themselves the lowest of the low and the most unqualified. If one thinks, I'm doing so good, I've made so much progress, I'm so high, this is proof of exactly the opposite.
You are so gone.
So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was leading this parikrama. But so many persons had made a conspired against him. In fact, they had ordered everyone, don't open your doors to help anyone. If you do so, we will come after you. And there was a plan. So everyone was afraid because these persons were in prominent positions within the society. They were respected, they were feared, they had power, they had influence. Just like so many here. When you live here for long enough, you know who not to mess with, who the mafiosos are. Be careful. So, it's obvious. So everyone knows, be careful, don't mess with this one, don't mess with that one. So in that situation, they had ordered everyone knew that something was going to happen, but they kept their doors closed and they weren't supposed to open the doors for anyone. This parikrama came through that place known as Paramatala. They were previously threatened.
That if they
so they were told
doors, yeah.
Oh no, I told those people who they were threatened. If you open your door to help anyone, we will come after you.
Yeah.
But it was a threat. So that parikrama went through this place, this area in Navadvip known as Paramatala. There's a very big tree in that area. And at that time, from so many rooftops and so many places, onto that parikrama, full of thousands of devotees and everything, came all kinds of stones and bricks and Molotov cocktails. I'm not going to tell you how to make it because the kids might be there, but you know what it is. anyway, fire bombs of all different kinds.
Throwing him at the elephant to make him tremble.
They were throwing it at the elephant to freak the elephant out. It created havoc, and the Parikrama devotees began scattering in all directions. And at that time, our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he was known as Vinod Bihari Brahmachari. He wore white cloth, and he had an appearance kind of similar to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, especially because they wore similar shaped glasses and around the same height. So he knew of someone who he could bring Saraswati Thakur to for safety, because our Param Gurudev also had a particular nature. He came from a very, very wealthy landowner family, and he knew how to basically take control of situations.
He was also in the army of...
He was also in the army of Subhash Chandra Bose, who was fighting, guerrilla warfare against the British at the time. So there was the Gandhi's movement, and then there were other physically battling, and our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, before joining the Mat, was one of those freedom fighters in the bushes with a gun, with a rifle. So he was no lightweight. And for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he performed so many amazing miracles, which some required a little bit of a heavy hand. So he was no one to be trifled with.
If you heard Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj speak about him, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if they transcribed everything he said. Something to the effect of they brought these court papers to summon him to court, and he just ripped them up, threw them away.
Cast water on them.
Yep, urinated on them, basically. So our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj also had a lot of influence. So he pulled Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada into this one home where he knew there would be some safety, and there he told him, "Give me your saffron cloth, and I will give you my white cloth." So they exchanged clothes. At that time, you see, Vishrambena Gurur Seva. How much mamata was there that this disciple could order his guru, and his guru would accept it. So Param Gurudev, out of his deep affection and care, ordered his Gurudev, "You give me your clothes and I will take yours." So they switched clothes. Our Param Gurudev took the saffron sannyas cloth of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was arranged, safe passage was arranged for him by our Param Gurudev back to Mayapur. And then our Param Gurudev went out into the street, looking like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada in his dress and everything, ready and willing to take everything unto himself. We used to hear this story when we were young. We never knew who it was, but Srila Prabhupada had told it. And we always heard it, and we were like, we didn't have heroes. We weren't allowed to watch television.
Superheroes.
Sorry, we didn't have superheroes. We weren't allowed to watch television and like that, so we didn't know about Superman and Spider-Man. We only knew about Krishna and Balaram and Bhima and Hanuman and Madhvacharya and this one disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada who risked his life to save his guru, and he was our hero. So, these persons who are in the position of Brahmins and, Apasampradaya, they were being threatened, their position was being threatened, so they caused havoc, actually injured many of the Parikrama persons and devotees. Yeah, their bones broken and fractures, and no one was killed, but many were injured, very severely actually. Yeah. And so finally that relented, but they thought they taught them a lesson. And then they came to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and they said to him, we should press charges against them, we should take them to court and do all of these things.
Disciples. They meaning his disciples.
Yes, his disciples. And he said, why should we do that? No. He said, just by this one act, because of this, we have gone into the front page of every newspaper. People and kings from all over India are writing in, feeling empathy for us and our cause.
Now, he said previously no one knew what the Gaudiya Math stood for. Now everyone knows and they appreciate. No caste, no creed, no Brahmin like this. They're so happy.
So he said, why should we press charges? By this one act, They have done millions of times more than what we could have done on our own. It's not inviting that others should come and do the same thing, but his mood was, this is the arrangement of the Lord. This was the arrangement of Krishna, like he said about accidents. These accidents that are happening, this was an accident. From their perspective, something happened. And also he was practicing, what was he practicing? What is that verse? Anyone who knows the verse? Which states that one should accept everything which is coming to them as the will of the Lord or as the result of their karma. All the while, by mind, by heart, by words, by body, surrendering unto Krishna and keeping their focus one pointed to Krishna. For such a person, they have already earned their rightful place in the realm of liberation. Does anyone know that verse?
I do.
Whoever knows the verse besides Sudevi, you will get... What are they going to get? Come on. Tatiana.
Taruni.
Sorry. Taruni.
Oh, man.
What? Oh. Sudevi. Ha, she beat you to it.
Tate Numa Pam.
Nope. She beat you to it. Tatte nukampam susamikshamano munjana evatma kritam vavakam ridvagu purbir vidadan namaste jirete yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. So Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Prabhupada was also practicing this and also encouraging everyone else to practice this. If someone does something to me personally, I should tolerate it. But for the other Vaishnavas, of course, we should not tolerate it. But if this is actually increasing the service of the Lord, then altogether we will accept whatever we need to accept so that the glories of the Lord, 108 burpees, wow, Janardhan is hungry. Altogether, for the service of the Lord, if this is increasing his glories, if this is increasing the preaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then what is this small little punishment that is coming to us? Let all of these things come so that his glories can be broadcast everywhere. This is the mood of the devotees. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada also gave this very beautiful and powerful lesson.
Maybe tomorrow you can speak more about his teachings. It's 8:30.
Oh my God. Okay. So Sudevi has actually been interjecting through all of the life history of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada so many of his teachings. Of course, his teachings are extremely voluminous and really theoretically, technically, because they are unlimited, we can continue speaking about them forever. Sudevi has a massive collection of books on our bookshelf. All of the harmonist magazines, right?
Originals.
Original harmonist. So it's from the original, but it's been published now. And it's like Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's so many different volumes. And it was edited or overseen by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He wrote articles for it, and all of his disciples were also writing articles on his order, and he was editing, also proofreading many of them. He would approve them, and then they would all go to print. So, what they have preached, this is all from their Gurudev. His moods, his conceptions, what he was teaching. And it was so powerful, so brilliant, so seamless that no one could get any word in edgewise. The powerful preaching of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was a source of fear for so many. All they could say was, I'm higher than you. But the teaching of Saraswati Thakur completely smashed all these misconceptions and established the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the super most excellent teachings, the best and most complete conceptions of love of Godhead. So by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Prabhupada's preaching, by his undeviating, oh gosh, what's that?
What?
Can you hand me that computer? Just 1 second. So he was speaking about the birth of Krishna. But this also implies the manifestation of the pure devotee. That by the presence and the manifestation of the pure devotee, oh my gosh.
Taruni Gopi wants burpees too. She wrote it. She's like, no, I really do. Jiva Pavana Prabhu just put up.
It's probably in that one, Putana. I think it is.
It's here. He has it here.
Yes, organized religion.
Which?
Okay, and actually that quote was from there. So I want to say,
Thank you, Jiva Pavana Prabhu.
This is, for me, one of his most brilliant, powerful, telling quotes. It's the last sentence of that organized religion. The effective silencing of the whole race of pseudo-teachers of religion is the first clear indication of the appearance of the absolute on the mundane plane. Now, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, why does he come? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya. When religion, dharma, is repressed and irreligion comes up, to rescue the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants or the asuras, I descend myself again and again. Now, it's not only Bhagavan himself who descends, but also his authorized representative. That means the pure devotees, these powerful generals. So, the effective silencing of the whole race of pseudo-teachers of religion is the first clear indication of the appearance of the absolute on the mundane plane. The bona fide teacher of the absolute heralds the advent of Krishna by his uncompromising campaign against the pseudo-teachers of religion. That is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Uncompromising campaign against the pseudo-teachers of religion. And by that, what was able to manifest? Krishna was able to manifest. Right. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. So I think we have time tomorrow to continue to remember his beautiful teachings, his lessons, his pastimes. And then very soon, we are also going to, the 7th for us. On the 7th of January will be the anniversary of the disappearance of our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. I know we already spoke about him on the 29th of December, which was the solar day, but we honor the lunar day primarily. So we are going to, again, remember Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, and I'm sure that will also continue for some days. So until that point, we may be able to share and remember some of the beautiful teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Yes, you caught that. Uncompromising campaign against the pseudo-teachers of religion. When I read that, I just envisioned, I saw that picture of Lord Nrsimhadev destroying the armies of Hiranyakashipu. Just literally shredding them to pieces. This is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada did. Many years ago, we were at Radharaman Temple. And the Babajis were singing there. And then we sang. And we sang Mahamantra, Hare Krishna first, and Hare Rama, like in two halves. And somebody got upset at us. You know, our Srila Prabhupada also did sing it in two halves from time to time. There are many recordings of that. So they got a little upset. Why are you cutting it? Why are you doing this, that? And then one devotee, his name was Krishna Ananda.
He was the pujari for Sri Gopinath.
Yeah, pujari for Radha Gopinath at the time. Afterward,
not Gopinath Bhavan.
No, Gopinath. So after that, we were walking out from the temple, and he said, don't worry for what they say. He said, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was here, all of them were silenced. It was like, they were all like little dogs, but he was like a powerful
bull.
No, he said a big elephant.
Elephant, yeah.
Yeah, he said there was nothing they could do. Now they're barking, but before they were afraid.
Yeah.
He said, so don't worry for what they say. And we see that how powerful Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was. Everyone else was silenced, effectively silenced the pseudo-teachers of religion. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Please forgive this moment. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Rūpānuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Patit Pavan Śrī Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Harinam Sankirtana ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So, thank you all very much for giving us the opportunity for remembering the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and Guru Varga, especially for remembering the beautiful lessons and the pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Also, we would like to express our indebtedness to each and every one of you for giving us the opportunity on a daily basis to follow the order of our Gurudev, to do this seva, which is our life and soul. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas. Radhe Radhe.
Hari Jai. Shachinandana Gaura Hari ki
Jai. Hey Lavang. Radhe Radhe.